Hi guys, today I would like to share with you how to do a research problem formulation in computer science. So this is the outline of today's talk. What is a research? Research is an organized and systematic way of finding answers to the questions. What is systematic? There is a definite set of procedures and steps which you will follow. There are certain things in the research process which are always done in order to get the most accurate results. In organized, there is a structure or method in going about doing research. It is a planned procedure, not a spontaneous one. It is focused and limited to a specific scope. That means in doing research, you must clearly organize what you want to do, the step that you need to do. You should follow the previous researcher. You need to read how they do the research, what are the data set, how many runs, how they do the experiment. You need to review some previous work, especially the PhD thesis and the related good journal, to follow the right step, how to conduct a research. Finding the answers is the end of all research, whether it is the answer to a hypothesis or even a simple question. Research is successful when we find the answers. Sometimes the answer is no, but it is still an answer. So don't feel that you fail when you cannot find the answer for yes. Investigate why you get the answer no. So you will help the others to learn if you can prove that the answer is no. So you maybe, or perhaps you can change your hypothesis so that the answer is yes. So the questions are central to the research. If there is no question, then the answer is of no use. So research is focused on relevant, useful, and important questions. Without question, research has no focus, drive, or purpose. So the question in your thesis is the most important part. So you must identify what is a good question for your research. Read from the literature what are the questions that other people have tried to answer, and what are the questions that has not yet been fully answered. That means there are still an issue. What is a research question? Asking a good question to start the research. You need to use the question like how, where, which, who, why, what, can. So all these WH question or can, all the question type. So let us compare the research question, aims, and hypothesis. So research question must be clear, focused, concise, and defendable. So a statement that identifies the phenomenon to be studied. So what is the hypothesis? What prediction are you making about the subject of your study? This is the foundation of your work. Hypotheses are specific prediction about the nature and direction of relationship between two or more variables that you want to test. The aim, what do you hope to achieve from your study? How is your research going to extend to the current knowledge based on the subject matter? The comparison between master and PhD thesis. So for PhD thesis, using the methodology that you have learned and experienced from solving the problem to produce something new. So you must have a value added to the current knowledge. So to solve in MSc study, you can solve a problem using the methodology that you have learned. So maybe you just apply. But the PhD, you must generate a new knowledge or adding a new knowledge to the problem. But be careful, in computer science, we must have a domain. We create an algorithm or we implement the algorithm, but we test on the domain. So don't confuse with a domain problem. Let's say you want to solve a language problem, natural language processing. So your main contribution or your main question should be focused on the technique to solve the language. What are the technique and what are the added knowledge to the technique? The domain problem is a linguistic. Maybe you want to solve the Arabic, Quran, Malay, France, any language. So that is a domain. You can have a contribution issue in the domain, but not the main problem or the main issue. That is just a supplementary issue. You can have that, but the main focus must be in the computer science knowledge, that is the technique, the method or the model, the framework related to computer science or IT. The knowledge in the IT, the contribution or the issue in the knowledge. So the problem formulation is one of the most difficult phase of a research project or a research thesis, is the choice of suitable problem. The problem formulation of a problem is far more essential than its solution, which may be merely a matter of mathematical or experimental skill to raise a new question, new possibility, to regard all problems from a new angle, require creative imagination and marks real advances in science. This given by Albert Einstein. So the solution is no meaning if you don't have any question, any problem to solve. So don't try and error. You must identify what is the issue behind your research. What is the question behind your research before you generate a solution. Then you have to add, you have to support why you choose that method to solve the problem, to solve the issue. Why the technique, the method is chosen. What made you choose the technique? What are the issue in the technique? So this is the problem that you try to formulate. The issue must be focused in computer science. So a research formulation consists of just one sentence and should make it clear to everyone what research problem you aim to address and to whom and where it is relevant. So in your thesis, only one main question that stated your research problem or your research question. You must have one main research question. And then you can break down this main question into several sub-questions. So it's the heart or core of your thesis, to which you should always return if you lost track during your further research and writing process. So it's based on the rationale you reach through your explorative search and maybe the first thing you write related to your thesis. So the aim is also to set a framework for your research, and a good problem formulation is essential for completing a good study. A problem formulation issues. This is an iterative process to write a problem formulation. So you cannot get a good issue or a good problem formulation in just 1 or 2 or 3. Might be more than 10. It's an iterative process. So along the way of your study, you might change your research question and the research issue. So maybe along the way that you do your PhD, you say, oh, you want to focus on this issue. You read in the literature, you see that there is a gap. No one attempt to do like what you try to propose or try to tackle. Then along the way, when you search more and more, you find out, oh, this work is similar to your work. So you need to navigate. So you make some changes, and then you try again, and you find you have some problem to prove this. Then you navigate again. So this is an iterative process until you submit your thesis, or even after you submit your thesis, during the viva, the panel challenge you. Maybe they suggest different issue. You are focusing on different issue, not the one that you are stated in your thesis. So it's based on how you write your thesis, how you formulate your problem. So this is the anchor of your thesis and your PhD. So you might switch many times between checking the literature to see if your idea is relevant and refining the problem formulation back to searching the literature with new ideas and so forth. So it takes a long time to develop a precise and specific problem formulation, but it is necessary to define your problem before any work can be launched. In practice, writing the final project formulation is done in interaction with your supervisor. Do not write your thesis without detailed discussion with your supervisors. What is your issue? What is the research issue that you try to tackle? Why you choose this issue? Why you choose this technique? How are you going to do the experiment to tackle these issues? How you want to validate your contribution? All these are very important. Don't just come to your supervisor, or I have identified my issue. You write the proposal, you write your thesis without detailed discussion, argument with your supervisor. Make sure that you can convince your supervisors about your research issue, your problem formulation, your research question before you conduct the experiment. So when your problem formulation has taken its final form, you are ready to develop an overall research objective, a number of specific objectives stating exactly what action will be taken in order to address your stated problem. So a proper problem formulation and associated objective will make your work more coherent. This is example of problem formulation. It's the level of knowledge on recommended nutritional practice related to nutritional status of pregnant women attending antenatal care in northern Uganda. So what is the problem or issue addressed? There is the gap in evidence whether nutritional knowledge gained during antenatal care influence the nutritional status of pregnant women. So to whom and where is the problem relevant? Is pregnant woman attending antenatal care in northern Uganda. So there are times when it is appropriate to replicate or repeat a study to verify its conclusion, to extend the validity of its finding to a different situation or population. So characteristic of good topic, interesting, keep the researcher interested in it throughout the research process. So the choice of topic must be in your research interest. Do not do research that you don't like. You must have interest on that topic. So if you are looking for the what we call supervisors, don't just say, oh, I can do anything. Just name it. I can do anything. This shows that you don't have any interest. But do not choose a supervisor in that do not choose supervisors that do not meet with your research interest, because you might struggle later your supervisor is not in the area of your research. Or maybe you can invite co-supervisor. You may invite co-supervisor from other university. Even international supervisor also can join in your in the supervision of your research study. So researchable can be investigated through the collection of analysis or of data. Significant contribute to the improvement and understanding of educational theory and practice. Manageable fits the level of researchers' level of research skill, needed resources and time restriction. You must ask yourself, do you manage to do this research? What is your skill? Do you have the skill to conduct this research? Let's say this research need high skill programming. Do you have this capability to do the research? So ethical does not embarrass or harm participants. So the following research topics are either faulty, too broad, or completely inappropriate. So review on each of these. It reflects the quality of a good research topic. Causes of violence. Is this good? Remembering and forgetting. Improving memory. The effect of stressful environment on the health and social interaction. So the effect of early childhood experience on later development. Best way to treat depression. So this example of good research problem in the form of question. Does client-centered therapy produce more satisfaction in clients than traditional therapy? This is experimental design. So does behavior modification reduce aggression in autistic children? Are the description of people in social studies discussion biased? What goes on in elementary school classroom during an average week? Do teachers behave differently towards students of different gender? How do parents feel about the school counseling program? How can a principal improve faculty morale? So your research problem, you need to identify what is your area of interest, where could you look for help in deciding upon a specific research problem, what criteria will you apply when deciding upon a specific research problem, how could you narrow down your research problem, how might your value judgment affect your research accomplishment. Let's have a look on the example in computer science. Okay, although the high-level heuristic of the hyperheuristic framework have been properly designed, one can argue that there are many choices involved during the designing process, that is, heuristic selection mechanism, acceptance criteria and parameter values, and designing a good one need a considerable expertise and experience. Since the number of choices tend to grow during the designing process, the high-level heuristic designer may be over-generalized and only explore small friction from the available space. So most of the existing high-level heuristic have one or few intractable sensitive parameters. So these are all the issues. So the best performing high-level heuristic often perform well only on instances that have been used during empirical tests. So the designing process is time-consuming and the success usually depends on the designer experience, intuition or luck. So previous hyperheuristic frameworks that have been proposed in the literature are single solution based method. Reliance on the single solution may restrict the ability in dealing with huge and heavily constrained search space, as it widely known that single solution based methods are not well suited to cope with the large search space and heavily constrained problem. So if you look at this, how these guys formulate the research problem in computer science. All the issues are related to the technique in computer science. And then he said, Burke et al. 2009 stated that instead of getting experts to design heuristic, perhaps they would be better employ a designing search space of heuristic that is a possible heuristic or promising subset of heuristic, and a framework in which the heuristic operate and letting a computer take over the task of searching for the best one. So this statement is given by a top researcher in the hyperheuristic. So the issue addressed earlier and concept of Fukunaga 2008 and Hatter 2009 and Burke 2009 serve as the main motivation for this thesis to propose an automatic program generation method to either intelligently combine existing components or generate the high-level heuristic components for the perturbative hyperheuristic to choose heuristic. So you look at the keyword motivation. In your problem statement, you must write what motivates you to do the research. What are the issues? So what motivates you to choose this research? What motivates you to choose this method or this technique or this model or this framework? So you must state, and which work do you follow? So this is the what we call the hypothesis. We look at detailed hypothesis later. Okay. If the success of hyperheuristic framework is largely due to the appropriate design of the high-level heuristic component, that is heuristic selection mechanism and acceptance criteria, what is the suitable combination of these components? So this is the main question. If the population-based methods are good in exploring the search space of combinatorial optimization problems, how a population of solutions can be integrated within the hyperheuristic framework? Can we use automatic program generation method to intelligently combine the existing component of high-level heuristic for the hyperheuristic approach? Can we introduce a hyperheuristic framework that uses heuristic selection mechanism that can quickly respond to the solution landscape changes by selecting the appropriate heuristic and generate for each instance different acceptance criterion? Can we use automatic program generation method to automatically generate both the heuristic selection mechanism and the acceptance criterion component of high-level heuristic of the hyperheuristic framework? So does the use of population of solution instead of single solution within the hyperheuristic framework can enhance the performance of the hyperheuristic? With that, I end this session. Thank you very much for listening, and see you in the second part of the problem formulation.